I'm a pastor, an artist, an author, a scholar, and a conversation. Welcome to ChatFest with Kenneth. Hello and welcome to another episode of ChatFest with Kenneth. And for this episode, I really want to talk about how hormones and neurotransmitters can affect our emotionality and ultimately behavior. And this has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do with intentionality. Has nothing to do with morality. It is simply chemicals in our body system that we need to balance out. And this is a area that is psychiatry is the functions on. And this is my least area that I'm interested in, because I'm more into psychology, which is the analysis and evaluation of behavior, and psychiatry is more of the chemical understanding the chemical part that affects behavior, attitudes, and behavior. So, what are first of all, I will have to give a disclaimer. I am not a psychiatrist, so everything that Sherry talking on is actually accessible online. The information is there, so it's not like uh, it's information that's available for anyone. So there are about um, four particular hormones slash neurotransmitters that we will uh, talk about. Basically, chemical messengers. There are four chemical messengers that are particularly important: dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and epinephrine. Epinephrine. Um, what are hormones? Hormones are produced by the endocrine glands and released into the bloodstream. So it's produced in the brain and released into the bloodstream. That's the simplest explanation. Neurotransmitters, on the other hand, same chemical messengers, but they are produced by the nervous system, and then they act as a chemical messenger between the neurons and the brain. So let's start with dopamine. Dopamine is actually a neurotransmitter, so it is from the nervous system, and it's what is dopamine? Dopamine is a mood regulator. It's a mood regulator. Movement regulates movements as well, and also is a determinant on how we experience pleasure and pain. So it probably works. Best description is it works as a feel good. It's a feel good. It determines how we experience pleasure, how we experience pain. So it's a feel good chemical transmitter. It like when times that you will get dopamine, there will be a release of dopamine in your system. Will be when you're doing something that feels good, like you eat good food, and that good food, you're like, this is wonderful. This food tastes good. The food tasting good, that experience of goodness, of enjoying the food, is the release of dopamine that food has caused. Or sex, yes, when you have sex and sex feels good, it feels so good. That goodness that you're getting is the release of dopamine. Also, some behaviors like when you go to the gym and you work out and there's a release of dopamine, you feel good. Or even when you get high, there's a chemical release of dopamine. So dopamine it's activities will, if you indulge in some activity, it will release dopamine. The problem is when you enjoy this release of dopamine by this activity, so you now do that activity to get the release of the dopamine. So, like people who eat, stress eaters, or people who eat food addiction and all, is this food is where you get your dopamine from. So you eat this food, you get the release of dopamine. You do this drug, you get the release of dopamine. You do this behavior, you get this release of dopamine. So basically, it's now that activity is doing the release. There's an indulgence in that activity to get the release of the dopamine. So, low dopamine. What does low? How do you know you have a low dopamine? Because yes, there is where you have low dopamine, you have high dopamine, where it's both are medical conditions. Low dopamine is indicated by low sex drive, or you get fatigued easily, you have mood swings, there's lack of energy, you have brain fog, diminished balance and coordination. And then on the flip side, a high dopamine can be determined by high sex drive, insomnia, excess energy and mania, aggressions and hallucinations. Uh, and what conditions can indicate an imbalance in your dopamine levels? Mental health disorders, obviously. And when the mental health disorders, that's a wide gamut of disorders. So it's not just depression, but there's addictions, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, attention deficit disorder, binge eating, and all that. So that whole gamut is, any of those things will affect your dopamine levels. And so it's not just oh, um, stop, or oh, get over yourself. It's not just that. There is a chemical imbalance that sometimes may have to be addressed in order to get the balance. Um, and then in other conditions, because dopamine affects movement, Parkinson's disease is another aspect of an imbalance in dopamine levels, and the restless leg syndrome. That's another thing. So, how are there ways that one can probably healthily do things to maintain a healthy dopamine balance? Yes. Your body needs adequate iron intake of iron and niacin, folate, and vitamin B6 to make dopamine. Some amino acids also help increase the healthy levels of dopamine. So your nutrition helps. So when you eat healthily, chances are healthy eating will help balance the chemicals in your system. Unhealthy eating is positioning yourself to have a possibility of an imbalance in your hormones or neurotransmitters, which can cross over into mental health and other things. Part of a diet that helps with dopamine, healthy levels of dopamine, No. That helps with amino acids that help to create there's a particular amino acid that helps in the creation of dopamine. Beef, dairy, eggs, legumes, soy, turkey, these can help. And then there are also some fruits and vegetables that help to improve healthy levels of dopamine. Apples, avocado, banana, beans, eggplant, plantain, spinach. Um, you can Google this. I also put a link of these articles in the description section of this video. Um, Also, some activities can help with, excuse me, some activities can help with dopamine, creating a healthy level of dopamine in our lives. So, like relaxation and beating stress, any way to avoid stress, find a healthy way to avoid stress or to relax can help to improve healthy dopamine levels. Exercising, meditation, massage, playing with a pet. That's why having a pet is a positive thing. Reading a book, doing yoga, taking a walk in nature, and getting adequate sleep. Sleep deprivation is one. Yes, I know a lot of capitalistic nations, there's so much emphasis placed on work, and it almost is like an acceptable thing. Oh, I've been so busy. I've been so busy. Oh, just work. And it's almost like there's no accolade to be given for being busy. So, why is being busy something that we seem to take pride in? Like, oh, it's like a chip on our shoulder. I've been busy. Okay, you've been busy and you're unhealthy. So, what's the point? Uh, Next one is oxytocin. Again, oxytocin is a natural hormone that manages the aspects of the male and female reproductive system. So it actually is made in the hypothalamus, and then it is sent to the pituitary gland, all in the brain. It's stored there, and then it's from the pituitary gland. It is released into the bloodstream. And the function of oxytocin is it helps to ignite sexual arousal, recognition, trust, romantic attachment, and parent infant bond. Basically, oxytocin is it helps with that to bond people together. It's the love drug. Oxytocin is a love drug. So it's a thing that it's the chemical messenger that is released to enforce bonding with somebody else. So it's called a love drug because it's associated with trust, relationship building, and sexual arousal. It is released, especially have high levels of it when you hug someone. That feeling you have when you hug somebody, that's the release of oxytocin in your system. Or when you're having sex and you're near it and you're having an orgasm, that sensation is the release of oxytocin in your system. Um, high Low oxytocin is it affects uterine for women. It affects uterine contraction and milk ejection after giving birth. It has been linked to autism spectrum disorder, and depressive symptoms include postpartum depression. So that especially postpartum, that because postpartum is where that a lack of being able to bond with the infant that has been given birth to, and that usually is as a result of a low oxytocin. High oxytocin can cause over activity in the uterus, affecting the its containing of a fetus, and it can also have in men it can result to prostate issues. um, the conditions of not that imbalance in oxytocin levels in our system. It can lead to addiction, anorexia, the autism spectrum disorder, anxiety, depression, PTSD. So again, you see how this second chemical messenger can cause is can affect mental health, and it can also the gamut of mental health. And how are there any positive activities that we can do to increase our to maintain a healthy balance of oxytocin in our system? Yep. Body contact is one way. So, like when you enjoy a massage, you go for massages. Yep, that's one way. Cuddling with people. And yes, I love making. Hugging, making love. Yeah, all these are things that uh, stir up oxytocin in our system. Exercise is one. Music, enjoying music, especially in a choir kind of setting. Um, it according to research helps to build oxytocin. Next one is serotonin, and serotonin is a neurotransmitter. It helps to stabilize mood, as well as feelings of happiness and well-being. And it also plays an important part in our digestive system and our sleep cycle. So the sleep cycle of sleep, the sleep wake behavior is serotonin is part of it that helps to regulate that. Our blood clotting, nausea, appetite, bone health, sex drive, learning, memory, and cognition. Serotonin plays an active part in this. Low serotonin um, can lead to high high childhood stress can lead to a low levels of serotonin in adulthood. So, as a child, when you have child major stress, trauma, childhood child abuse, whatever you want to call it, any kind of trauma that a child experiences, it leaves that child a high possibility of experiencing low serotonin in their adulthood, according to research. Also, a lack of some specific amino acids can cause low levels of serotonin. Now, there are different ways in which low levels of serotonin affect psychologically. Low levels of serotonin can lead to aggression, poor impulse control, insomnia, irritability, low self-esteem. Um, that can be all in that gamut. Um, and the psychological conditions can include anxiety, panic disorder, depression, bipolar disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, eating disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder. Um, Low serotonin can also affect it can affect us cognitively. It There's poor memory, the loss of memory, of not having good um, memory retention can be as a result of low serotonin. Physiologically, some of the symptoms would include a craving for carbohydrates, unintentional weight gain, nausea, digestive issues, poor appetite, fatigue, migraines. Low serotonin has also been associated with chronic disease like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. So it's not; these are not just things to disregard. It's These are serious things. High level of serotonin can lead to there is a mild condition, a moderate condition, and a severe condition. So the mild levels of high serotonin lead to nervousness, diarrhea, nausea, insomnia, tremors, dilapidated eye pupils. So when you see those around eyes, like, oh, he's high, it's because that getting high has released high levels of serotonin. So that's in mild cases. In moderate cases, that's a little more than just mild. Um, it can lead to hyperactive reflexes, sweating, agitation and restlessness, involuntary muscle contraction, and side to side eye movements. Again, the most likely of this is when you are high and there is a so as you if you can notice a commonality, a lot of these chemical messengers are induced where there's an imbalance. An imbalance usually is by another chemical that's creating the imbalance. Yes, some physical activities sometimes can result in a chemical imbalance, but usually it's an ingestion of a chemical that is causing a chemical imbalance again. Um, a severe level of high serotonin can be high fever, confusion, or delirium, sustained involuntary muscle contraction, unconsciousness, and death. And of course, hospitalization for is not an option when there is high levels of serotonin in when a person is experiencing high levels of serotonin. So hospitalization is not an option. It's like you need to be hospitalized. Uh, Naturally, the body can create regulate our have healthy levels of serotonin when you're exposed to sunlight, exercise, massage, and meditation. So you see how those winter months where people feel down, your mood is all over the place because there's lack of exposure to sunlight. Um, it is it's a natural thing. Once you're exposed to sunlight, it helps to regulate your mood, and that mood regulation is the healthy release of serotonin in the system. And the last one, which we're not going to talk too much about because everybody should know about this, is epinephrine, which is another word for adrenaline. Adrenaline is flight or fight chemical messenger. So it is a stress hormone and neurotransmitter. It plays an active role in metabolism, attention, focus, panic, and excitement. Abnormal levels are linked to sleep disorders, anxiety, hypertension, lowered immunity. And this is a fight or flight response. So when it's a survival chemical messenger, you face a situation and you need to run or fight, and boom, the brain sends a release of adrenaline, and you get into action. Pain is almost like it comes. Sometimes it can override pain because it's the it's an active response chemical messenger. Low levels can lead to anxiety, depression, headaches, sleeping problems, low blood sugar, changes in blood pressure, and heart rate. And high levels can lead to high blood pressure, stroke, or death. Um, why did I decide to talk about hormones and neurotransmitters? Because sometimes in mental health we don't acknowledge this. Sometimes we relegate, and yes, I'm guilty of that too, where we want to relegate everything to behavior, willpower, and morality, and sometimes there are things that transcend that. Sometimes, yes, you may need to go see somebody to adjust the to give you medication to adjust the imbalance in any of this. As you can see, any of this can affect a lot of emotionality, a lot of behaviors, because these are chemical messengers that are instructing the body on how to respond. They're instructing your response to situations. So when there is an imbalance, there isn't a there isn't a, oh, I'm trying to think proactively. It's not about proactive thinking, or it's you respond according to what chemical release has been generated. And usually a conditioning has happened to maladjust to the imbalance in the chemical levels of these hormones or neurotransmitters. So that conditioning kicks in regardless of intentionality, regardless of willpower, regardless of morality, regardless of any of that. That conditioning kicks in to maladjust to this imbalance in chemical messengers. So again, I would hope that we would your religion, your faith does not. This has nothing to do. Yes, faith you can pray, and prayer will help you to have clarity in decision making for yourself. But will prayer, if you need to pop pills, is prayer can change your situation, or sometimes you may need to pop pills. Because hey, there's nothing wrong. But when you try to predicate it and make it seem like taking medication is wrong, but don't you take medication if you have a headache? If you have an ulcer, you take medication. So if you have a chemical imbalance in your brain, why is that different? It's all about awareness. It's all about changing what we deem acceptable and unacceptable. Anyhow, thank you for this episode of ChatFest with Kenneth. It was more like me just talking and sharing information, and I hope this information is beneficial.